everybody. I'm Fiona Sitkin, a host of a talk show, The Bridge for Women Worldwide. Today, I'm hosting the 6th episode of The Bridge, and its title is Women Worldwide on the Rise, Giving Voice to the Voiceless. The topic, giving voice to the voiceless, is very timely today because we know that many people took to the streets protesting against having no voice and being discriminated against. So stay with us. Today's guest for the show is Kaye Foster-Cheek, a business builder and a woman of faith with a purpose to give voice to the voiceless, a former Chief Human Resources Officer of Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, Onyx. Originally, Kaye is from Barbados. And let me tell you a couple of words about myself and about the show. The show is based in part on my HuffPost blogs and the recent book, How They Made It in America, Success Stories and Strategies of Immigrant Women. There are 18 immigrant women profiled out of 100 I interviewed for my book and blogs. And today I have a distinct honor to interview one of my future book subjects, Kaye Foster-Cheek. Welcome to the show, Kaye.
Thank you, Fiona. I was happy to be interviewed for the book, and I'm delighted to be with you today and look forward to joining you to talk about the achievements of women.
You are very, very welcome. I'm happy to see you. There is so much I can say about you. Kaye Foster-Cheek, ladies and gentlemen, was born twice. Yes, twice. First, as a baby on a beautiful island of the Caribbean, Barbados, and then again as an MBA graduate of Columbia University in New York City. Kaye was poised to conquer corporate America, and she did, reinventing self from an island girl into a top human resources executive in major American pharmaceutical companies, as she did, is a major challenge for anybody, but especially for an immigrant. Why? Because the required language skills, advanced language skills, and cultural penetration are so much greater for a woman who came from the collectivistic culture of Barbados to the individualistic US American culture. The road to success was tough, but she made it. And I can say that Kaye found her own voice in America, and she is now helping others do the same. Again, welcome to the show, Kaye.
Well, Fiona, thank you for that very warm introduction.
Let me ask you this first question. With your notable success, what was the promise of human resources for you that made you choose it for a career and profession? How did it all start?
So, from an early age, I was drawn to leadership. My mother would tell you that even as a Girl Scout, I was leading the troop. So I quickly understood the power of leadership, to develop people, to help people embrace their commitment to work, and to harness that passion and initiative to build strong cultures. And for me, that ability to build strong cultures, systems, and companies in service of transforming people's lives is really what has driven that career. And I found that in the practice of human resources, that is where I could bring all those things together.
I see. Very logical. Thank you so much. Well, Kaye, you are wearing many hats. Consultant, philanthropist, a woman of faith, and a mother, you name it. Many people would like to hear about the most exciting project you are doing today. Could you share, please?
Sure. So I'm going to tell you about, and look, I am blessed. I lead a portfolio life, and in that portfolio life, part of the portfolio is all about advising companies a part of the portfolio is sitting on a broad range of boards, corporate, public, nonprofit. And then I also have an advisory section where I teach, guest lecture. But the two most exciting things that I do, one is Glide Memorial. I chair the board of trustees of Glide Memorial. It's a social agency here in San Francisco focused on supporting the most marginalized and the most challenged and at-risk populations in the city. We have about 28 programs, everything from a food program to men in recovery, substance abuse. We support the San Francisco Police Department, for instance, with policing reforms. And then the second is advising, where I work with CEOs and leadership teams to help them build strong companies, strong cultures, primarily focused in the healthcare space. So primarily focused on developing oncology drugs.
That's a lot on your hands. Thank you so much for sharing, Kaye. Well, the triple jeopardy discrimination of race plus gender plus immigrant status is still a reality today, unfortunately. And we need to discuss it and figure out how to get rid of it, right? What is your thinking about that?
Yeah, I mean, if I think about it through my own experience, I think the point you just made about we've got to talk about it, we have got to find a way of talking about the challenges of being female, being a woman of color, and being an immigrant. And what's happening now is we're talking at each other, right? And we have lost the ability for civil discourse, for us to sit with each other, even if we hold opposing views, and find a way of engaging with each other constructively. And until we are able to do that, it's going to be very hard to move forward.
Yeah, probably. Yes, you are right. Yeah, we lost many abilities and need to work on ourselves first to move forward as a society. For God's sake. But it is good that there are good people around, the understanding people. You know, I am grateful, for example, to one of your former Johnson & Johnson colleagues, Peter Vermeulen, who had recommended you to me as a worthy book subject. He admired you as a human resources professional. He loved your bright personality. And he was among those who appreciated you reinventing self as an inclusive leader in Johnson & Johnson. So the question from here is, tell us, was it hard to transition to corporate environment and then to the consulting environment?
Yeah, it's interesting because as you were asking the question about reinvention, it occurred to me that my life has been constant reinvention. So right after we sold our company was acquired, Onyx was acquired by Amgen, I took some time to really explore at that point in time, how did I want to continue to contribute, but I also wanted to continue to grow. So I had amassed all of these experiences, professional experiences and expertise. And I needed then to say, how can I be of best service? What can I do next that enables me to really continue to grow, but to continue to be of service? And I found that making the shift to advising was a way of doing that. As an advisor, I get, in terms of impact, I get to work with a broad spectrum of companies and leaders. Whereas if I'm in one company, my impact and my capability and my ability to really support leaders and build leaders is much more narrowly focused. So as you referenced, transitioning to advising was yet another reinvention, because now, like you, I'm an independent, right? And doing that is very different than working for a company.
That's right. That's right. Thank you. All the points are great, and I'm very grateful that, and grateful to myself that I asked this question, and grateful to you that you gave such a sophisticated answer. I would love to ask you something else now.
Sure.
I have a quote from your interview to the book. Do you see it?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I
Could
remember that quote.
Right, right. You wrote that. That's in the inverted commas, your own words. Would you kindly comment on them?
Yeah, it's so interesting. We are at a moment, as you know, where there is this question about the American dream. And for me, the American dream is deeply personal. I think there's no one American dream. I think you've got to define it for yourself and your particular circumstances. So for me, there are three things when I think about this notion of the American dream or American success. One is the American dream for me is founded on the belief that anyone can reach whatever is their version of success, regardless of where they started on their journey. The second is, and it's reflected in my comments here, it requires a combination of hard work, sacrifice, it requires risk-taking, and quite frankly, a lot of luck. And it's that combination that is the second factor. And then the third factor, which is equally important for me, is, and why the American success or the American dream matters, is it really is about creating a lasting legacy for my children. I'm blessed to have 2 children, for my children and for my family. And that legacy isn't just about what I have done or what I have professionally or what I have done philanthropically. It's the measure of my life, the ability for my children and my family to look across the arc of my life and really understand that, back to where you started, voice to the voiceless is what my life has been about. And I want that reflected. That's really the legacy I want to leave for my children.
Thank you. Very, very wise. And I hear you. It's very hard to restart your life from scratch, as you did and as I did at some point. And I love your wording about the American dream. It is, by the way, related to my book part 2, which discusses 7 success values, which also helped the prominent women go up in life and achieve American success. Could you kindly say maybe 1 or 2 of these values also are your values and your priorities?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I look at them and I say, well, of course. And people say, of course. But for me, particularly in this moment, Fiona, character building, I think, is really critical. We are living in what I call the age of character. Who we are, what we value, what matters to us. And we're often focused on content, not character. We're focused on content in terms of our work, our politics, our actions. And our character should inform everything we do. And it's reflected in the choices we make, as well as the choices, what we choose not to do. So for me, it's interesting that you have it at the top of the list. I don't know if that's intentional or not, but I would certainly say
it's my number 1. That's why it's on top.
I completely agree with you.
I put my own on top.
I completely agree with you. And then the second is perseverance. And the way that I described that perseverance is resilience, right? Because resilience is the ability to persevere and keep getting up even when you're faced with challenges, when you're knocked down. Can you get back up? And for me, resilience is about learning. It isn't just about getting back up, but what did you learn that you now apply that enables you to persevere at the next juncture? So I would say that those are the 2 that are probably, if I had to, put them in rank order, those would be the 2.
Yes. Thank you so much. I totally agree with you. It's like, great minds think alike, for God's sake. Thank you so much for your comments. And I would love to say that yours is an amazing success story with many lessons for me personally and for our listeners as well, I am sure. A round of applause to Kaye, please.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And now let us do the summary
Mm-hmm.
of our talk show, Giving Voice to the Voiceless. And there are three pieces of recommendations or suggestions that I have to make. 1, 2, 3. Number one is that Kaye Foster-Cheek, an immigrant from Barbados, found her voice in the United States working in human resources. And she is now in a position to give voice to the voiceless. Mm-hmm. Number 2 is having a clear vision for your American dream is your own passport to success. Please remember that. And number 3 is order the book, How They Made It in America, to learn more about how to be a success in the US. Thank you. And let us connect. I invite you to connect with me on YouTube channel, The Bridge for Women Worldwide, and also via my personal email, fiona.sitkin@gmail.com, simple enough, and also via my book website, fionasitkin.com. Well, thank you everybody for watching our show. I salute you. Bye-bye.
I salute you, Fiona, and I thank you for your commitment to this work.